What up? It's your boy Bond Raven. Berg Gang Representative Villamard. You know what it is. I grew up in the streets of St. Henry. My environment shaped me because I had to grow up dealing with a lot of hardship and a lot of different obstacles growing up in the streets of St. Henry. And basically, like, it shaped me because it taught me how to speak up for myself, and it gave me a medium to, like, learn how to defend myself in terms of, like, my honor and respect. For, like, words that mean the most to me. Originally an acronym for emotional barrage, obliterating negative influences constantly, revealing adamant visions to empower nations. EBONIC Raven. My style is very rapid-paced, intellectual, sarcastic, and very, like, intricate in terms of its lyricism. My inspiration for music is just the pioneers and the MCs that came before me, and, like, the work that they did for us, like, representing on the scene in terms of, like, the skill that they put out and, like, the name they put out for the city of Montreal. And my way of inspiring others would be, like, to share my message and my story, so in hopes to, like, lift the spirits of anyone who's going through hardship or any kind of difficulty in life, and letting them know that you're not alone. I'm going through it too, and there are many others out there as well. Well, currently the songs in the works would be, I got a brand new record on the way, All Hell Breaks Loose, coming up in the works, and yeah, it's gonna be off the new album Through Raven's Eyes, dropping before the end of 2021. Stay tuned. In terms of collaborations, not many are in the works yet, but that could change at a drop of a dime, I can say that. And in terms of artists I'd like to work with, definitely the man, Woodman. I'd like to work with that MC, and of course the Narcissist as well. My favorite local artist right now would have to be the Narcissist. Montreal veteran MC. He's been on the scene for at least a good 20 years. He's been representing for Montreal. I have much admiration and respect for that man and what he's done for hip hop in Montreal. So now my favorite international artist will have to be Eminem. The reason being that, like, I relate to his story of being an outsider when he first came into the game to becoming now one of, like, the legends and, like, kings, and I aspire for that for myself, you know, being that I felt growing up I was an outsider and never really fit in either, so that's why I relate to his story as an MC. So now my favorite bar verse that I released today is probably my verse where I go, well, my Art of Darkness verse 3, or at the end of the verse where I go, I'll put a noose to Crace's neck and push him to his big break. Clean your reference wheels as a scrambling. It's your final shot. You couldn't get a record deal by haggling in a vinyl shop. Currently, I think the Montreal scene is very diverse, and I mean, there's room for everyone. And, like, we're in an era where a lot of MCs are coming out, a lot of different artists are coming, and, like, it's a great time to be a listener, basically, you know, because if you like lyrical rappers, lyrical artists, if you like trap music, there's trap artists, you know, a lot of variety. Well, the advice I give to an artist just starting out is practice, learn your craft, master it, live, breathe, eat it, and treat it like it's a really important part of your life, because ultimately that's what's going to make you the best artist you can possibly be. I guess the most honest answer I can give you is that what I've learned from, like, my run in rap for the past 15 years is that there's just no substitute for practice and hard work, man. You really got to be dedicated. Like, whatever you want in rap and whatever you want in this life, you got to really work hard for it. Like, and it's just not going to come overnight. You really got to put in the work, the effort, read, whatever it is you're trying to do in rap. Like, if you're trying to improve your craft, you got to read, learn books, learn as much as you can. Learn new words, learn how to use them, and make sure everything's on point, you know? If I wasn't making music, I think what I'd be doing is just, like, I guess, working a regular 9 to 5, just chilling out, man. Just to, like, living day by day instead of doing something different. I guess, like that, in that respect. So just, like, working as, like, a clerk somewhere. I guess if I were to die right now, my last meal would have been hot dogs. I guess something I've always enjoyed, like, I guess like something exotic, like I don't know, barbecued octopus. In terms of quotes, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, because like, I guess the greatest one, I don't know who said it, but like, you live and you learn. That's one of the quotes that I really live by for all my days. French music scene is interesting. I mean, I'll admit I know a lot about it, but not as much as like I would do about the English side of things, because I don't always like check in for it. But I mean, I know a couple of MCs on the French scene who are killing it. You know, with my boy KOF, he's on the scene representing and stuff. And then, other than that, like, they do their thing, man. I got respect for them, what they do. They're a part of the culture too, you know. I guess the moment I'd like to relive is the first concert I ever did back in like 10 years ago when I was with a recording studio I used to be with, No Bad Sounds, when we opened for the Jazz Festival 2011. I guess my go-to song would be, in terms of my material, it would be something like an unreleased song I have called Soldier On, or my song Keep Your Head Up off my newest album. But in terms of songs that I grew up listening to, definitely Eminem's Lose Yourself. I guess a feature, I mean, I'd like to see Narcy and Lil Pesci on the track together. And the reason being that, like, if I could be a part of that project, I feel that would be something that, like, it'd be like something that, like, just be like my boyhood dream in a way, because, like, I grew up listening to these MCs, and I also developed saying one day I want to be able to, like, make a record with these dudes and be able to represent at a high level lyrically, like the way they did in the past. So that just made me feel more complete, and like it'd be like, I guess one of the things that I feel solidifies my legacy. Visuals, well, let's just say I might have something coming very soon. Like, I'm thinking like, we don't know when, but let's just say something's coming soon, and when it comes, it's going to be a banger. That's all I can say for now. The kind of tips I'd give to an artist trying to blow is to like get out there and get heard as much as you can. When it comes to your music, you got to make that your hustle. Like, if you're trying to get heard and respect, you got to make sure you're visible and people know who you are. Because like what I was always told from a young age is that you can rap the best, but if you're rapping in a limited audience, or if you're rapping just in your room, no one's gonna hear or know about it. So you got to get out there and be on your grizzly, you know. So, people can find my music on Reverb Nation, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, and currently on YouTube as well. Those are currently the platforms where I'll be available to find my music. This is just for the time being. Yeah, in the future I'll be on more platforms and more places will be available. But for the time being, that will be it. As a guy who's been in the scene for like 10 years now, like going on 11 years, like, and seen the evolution of how music has changed, I can say that like it's very important, because in the way evolution in music evolves every day, you gotta keep up with the times, and it's something that we really gotta like push forward as an artist, especially if you want to survive the test of time. Is that you gotta like go out there and get heard. So I'd say being on platforms is a very important thing. I would go with DistroKid, and the reason I would go for DistroKid is because their prices are reasonable, and I think that like in terms of their service and what they're capable of, they give a lot for what they're offering. I think they're very talented, and like, you know, like it takes a lot of skill to do what they do and to keep up with the times and to be able to like keep following the trends of whatever's hot today, and to be able to like keep reinventing themselves. That in itself is a skill. What I like to avoid is this like negative and like shiesty politics in the industry, because there's a lot of like people who want to manage you, but you never know who you can really trust, you know. That's why I'm very selective with the people I hang around in general, and I'm very selective with like who I do business with, because you never know. Because unfortunately, we live in a world in an industry where you have to be very careful of like who you trust with your music and your rights, because you hear it all the time. Music artists losing their publishing, artists losing this, losing that, because they trusted the wrong person or because they did the wrong deal. So before anything, you gotta really read the fine print and everything. That's what I say. In this era of melodic music, when party vibes that everyone likes, bars are making a comeback, but at the same time, like, I still feel there's a balance of the two. Because, like, and there's a time and place for everything, but I think there is an importance to be lyrical, because in the end, it's cool to have jams and radio records that are just there for, like, when you want to have fun, or when you're trying to, like, pick up a partner or something at a club. But I think we also need intellectual music to, like, help us think. We also need music that speaks for the people who don't have a voice, because that's the essential foundations of what hip hop was built on, you know? Hip hop has always been the music of the oppressed. It's always been the music to, like, help people know what's going on in the world, what's going on in the ghetto, what's going on in the world where people are impoverished, you know? That's what hip hop has been. It's been the music of the weak, and it's empowered us. I guess as a person, I'd like to be remembered as just a dude who went the extra mile for anyone who was loyal to him, and anyone who showed him kindness. Like, I've never been. I mean, I can't speak for people who have some kind of issue for me, but in general, like, I feel like I'm a person who I never really went out of my way to, like, bother anyone or, like, mess with anyone. I'm just kind of dude who just does his own thing and tries to, like, build off his own talents and his own resources. As an artist, I like to remember this as someone who was very, like, dedicated to his craft and his skill as an MC. Someone who cared a lot about his craft and his talent. Someone who cared about, like, the quality of each verse, of each punchline, of each wordplay, of each rhyme scheme, of each flow, and of each recording. That's what I like to remember as. About approximately 13. Yes, well, that is just because, like, Through Raven's Eyes is just that. What it is just really, the album is supposed to be, like, through my eyes. So it's like through the eyes of a bird, or through the eyes of, like, me. Because, like, it's through my perspective, my experiences, and basically my philosophy is what the album is. As you can expect features from from Miles Cove and the homie Young Easy. You can expect features from Lou Pietzo and Light Massive, the homie P Flomatics, KOF, and of course the homeboy SB straight out of Below the Tracks. You know what it is, man. Well, basically, I started out about in high school, and I met up with Young Easy back when we were straight up, like, we were in high school. We were in, like, what? I met him when I was, like, in, what, grade 8? No, grade 9, actually. I met him in grade 9. And we hooked up, and, like, we both had an interest in music, and we both started doing performances, like, at our school talent show, and that's how we started out. From there, I met other MCs, like the homeboy D-Jazz, straight out of Uptown. And he introduced me to Nomad Massive, and he introduced me to the Nomad Studios, where I started recording, and I started recording my first album in 2015, Dreams and Reality. And from there on, I kept making music, I kept performing, I kept opening for different acts, and I met a lot of different people on the way. But ultimately, it wasn't until early this year in January I hooked up with Easy again after a long hiatus from not seeing him. And we hooked up, and I ended up being brought into Bird Gang, the new movement where we follow now, the new movement we're on. And that's basically where it has ever since then. It's just been like business as usual, man. We make records, we do interviews, shows are in the works, and that's basically it, you know. Shout out Young Easy and Bird Gang, man. That's the family, man. Shout out the homie Wonder Bread, that's the family as well. And of course, shout out Below the Tracks, shout out SB, shout out the whole families, man. Represent. My war grandma Thor Hammer. I'm about to kick this linguistic, fantastic lyrics spoken back as I kick this exquisite verbal hurricane as I mean you rappers upon the mat when I kick it, I'm so explicit. With every single lyric I'm flipping, just let my finger I'm ripping with lyrics I'm about to kick it so exquisite. Verbal hurricanes, urban terrains, when I'm a kick it explicit verbal hurricanes, I'm about to flip it. Cause I'm a mystical lyricist, so an individual when I kick it, I'm about to flip it over your head like mistletoe. And I am so invisible with every single metaphor, but set of swords are metaphors and set of fours, and every single set of fours I dead a war with every single metaphor. Upon this microphone, I'm about to kick this. I'm so explicit, I know I said it before, but I will dead a war with a 7 swords, with a set of metaphors that I'm kicking exquisite with lyrics and spitting back to kick it with this pedigree, rhyme density, I flow incredibly, ebonic raven, dropping off a sonic cave and flowing back and toss it waving, and I'ma end it just like this and like that with lyrics. I'm about to kick it with lyrics, I'll never bite back, I straight cast with lyrics, I'm flowing back as I straight act.